podcast is called Beyond the Blueprint. My name is Sunny. I'm your host. And Fernando, my first question is, could you give the audience a bit of who you are, what you do, just anything about the construction industry in your regard?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Happy to be here. I appreciate the invite. So my name is Fernando Calderon. I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're a custom home builder. We do mostly single-family custom homes, but we also do a little multifamily for duplexes, triplexes, townhomes, etc. And I'm a licensed general contractor and builder. To kind of kickstart the conversation as far as technology, like the main thing that got me into actually becoming a builder, where my background has been more in consulting for project management for large real estate projects, such as skyscrapers and large industrial buildings, is actually the use of off-site construction. So that we're pretty much only doing off-site construction for these custom homes, meaning we do modular construction. And we've been doing homes from the smallest ones we've done are like 600 square feet, and just recently the biggest one we've done is 8,200 square feet.
And what? So you were you were a consultant first, or you worked for a consultant, and then you made the transition to the GC side.
Correct. So I was in sustainability consulting. So I was doing the LEED certification, WELL certification, and all these kind of these green building certifications, which are really just kind of best management practices for the construction process to implement sustainability strategies to decrease the environmental footprint of the projects, obviously, but in general, just to make it more efficient is a word that I like better than sustainable, because sustainable gets misused a lot. In the end, the way I see it is just being more efficient with resources, but then also more efficient in the time while maintaining good quality and aesthetics and everything.
Now, my question here is, we are talking about modular. So I actually spoke with a gentleman from actually my area, and he went to China to get the modular technology. Is your technology in the modular space USA built? Is it China, overseas? Is there any adaptations or struggles you have been doing or encountered trying to get this new automation system on our construction scale here in America?
The short answer is no. We use all
okay. I like that.
American manufacturers here.
Okay.
And we don't have our own manufacturing facility. Basically, I bought a franchise called Impresa Modular. So Impresa Modular as a brand has been around for many years. The founder of Impresa is called Ken Semler, and he's kind of one of these gurus in the industry. And so basically he's developed relationships with pretty much every manufacturer in the U.S. And there's, over 2,000 manufacturers now in the U.S. And so what we offer as Impresa basically is through those relationships, we can use any manufacturer that we want, really. And so what that means, breaking it down, the way I break it down to clients is, I say, pretend you're buying a car, not a house. What we are is like a no-brand dealership. So that whether you want a Ford or a Chevy or a Toyota or a Lamborghini, we have the relationship with the manufacturers to get you exactly what you want. Because, each manufacturer has kind of like a niche market that they want to target. So similar to cars, where, if you want a pickup truck, you wouldn't ask necessarily Mazda to build you a pickup truck. You'd probably go to experience building
yeah
house manufacturer. There's some manufacturers that say, oh, we just do, and I'm going to exaggerate a little to prove the point, but the production builder or manufacturers, they say we just build these 3 or 4 floor plans and we do 100 and 150 copies of each every year, and that's it. If you want me to modify the floor plan, I can't do it. Whereas there's also the more custom manufacturers where they say, I don't care. I mean, I can do 400 different floor plans and do 1 copy of each year. Or if you come with me for a neighborhood project that you want 100 of the same, I can do that as well. So what that translates is that, we can truly customize and be able to build whatever kind of house, wherever is needed. And, that goes for size, quality, architectural design, and everything.
Now, okay, so you went from 600 to 82. Is that one home, or? And I know you said you did a couple duplexes. Have the modular built schools, or do you see that it going into like breaking through? Because you, Fernando, are essentially helping with the housing crisis. I don't know if you have it so much in America. Here in Canada, we have a huge housing crisis. Prices here have basic supply and demand. Prices have skyrocketed because of COVID. Our previous government opened the floodgates, mass immigration, and they left things unsustainable. That is one of the major reasons why I'm here, right? I want to solve that problem, and I do appreciate you meeting with me here. Is that something why you joined the modular world, or was it just, hey, I saw an opportunity, I see the pivot in the industry, and I want to take that opportunity? What was the mindset in that?
So, kind of yes to everything. I mean, in a nutshell, obviously. So, I mean, I did want to, start being more of a builder and actual project manager rather than consultant. So kind of have a little more skin in the game.
Yeah.
And again, through my sustainability background, basically, again, sustainability is being at the forefront of technology and innovative practices and everything. Where I became familiar with modular. And again, in short, what modular represents, we say it's kind of construction 2.0, where every other industry went through the Industrial Revolution over 100 years ago, when they figured out that the best way to maintain a high level of quality across a large number of samples was through this assembly line process. So that evolution basically is off-site building, which basically means, where we do these modules that are assembled in a factory, pretty much in an assembly line process, where the quality assurance processes are a lot more stringent and efficient than what you can do on site. And so, if I want to be a builder, the way I saw it, I've always been attracted to the new way of doing things, kind of what's the next forward in evolution. So I just kind of answered all that. But in my selfishness or interest, the way I see it is, me as basically the house is delivered 100% finished to the. You just have to assemble and finish. So it all translates to risk mitigation. Where risk to me is significantly lower, because it's already been, 90% of the build done in a factory. This, quality assurance processes, etc. So the chances of something going wrong on site is a lot less.
Yeah.
And if something does go wrong, it tends to be on, I hate to say it, but things that are not that big of a deal, where if something goes wrong, fixing it, it's not that big of a deal compared to some more complicated stuff. And so that, for me as a builder, is just going to reduce risk. Then also, it's a reduced timeline, because while we're getting the site prep, we're building the house at the same time in the factory. So that means that, on average, we can, from the day we order a house to the time that the owner can move in with the certificate of occupancy, is going to be about 5 to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
On a couple. Saying that some site builders can't do that, but a site builder that's doing 2 or 3 homes and they have a great crew potentially can do that. But then if they start growing and they start doing 5, 10, 15 over a year, then that time frame just goes. Whereas for me, that scalability is not effective, because again, these are being done at the factory at the same time that I'm working on the site.
That makes sense. That makes complete sense. So, you're using, because
I don't know if that answered the question.
No, it does, because you're using. So I am the. So let me say this. I believe that you and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to construction and the technology. I am seeing it as that in the last couple of years, being companies on the tools on the trade, we've been left behind. And you gave in the example of, this is construction 2.0. First time I've heard that, which makes complete sense. It's a new revelation of doing the things over and over and over again, which is what I'm trying to preach when I'm helping and working with multiple businesses and even projects, that the ability to do something consistent, repeatable, allows for scalability. right? And the cost of rework is removed, is a big X factor that people don't understand. And it's hard to budget for, it's hard to scope for, it's hard to schedule for as well. Because number one, the rework is always at an inconvenient time, and is always takes twice or three times as long. And the system of automation is just phenomenal in so many ways. The problem I'm trying to solve here is not so much in the construction, but in helping the construction companies. Yourself, you're already on that mindset, but there is 95% of the companies even just don't have that kind of understanding. That's why the podcast is called Beyond the Blueprint. When we see a set of drawings, doing things much more efficiently, getting materials, getting takeoffs with all of these kind of systemized programs. AI is just a buzzword, but it's only just workflows that are integrated very efficiently. Modular is a buzzword, but once everyone understands, you can make from my understanding, and I appreciate this education, when you can make something consistent, repeatable, and if you're saying, hey, listen, my delivery time is 4 to 5 months, that's amazing. I know builders and developers are taking years upon years to get something come in and out. And if there isn't a way for homeowners or people to just leave and just say, I want this home, and in 6 months that's my future home, I think that's an incredible feeling, an incredible achievement that you're doing. Speaking about scalability, when you're on that mind, what is your goal in 6 to 12 months where your company lies?
Well, so again, right now I've been doing these kind of just single family homes, let's say kind of one home at a time, but we are basically starting to get into the more the developer mindset where I'm looking to start getting some larger projects where we can start doing 10, 15 home developments and start scaling in that way. And again, the modular part of that makes it way easier on me because it requires way less on me than a traditional builder, just because, as I've already mentioned, since all the houses are being done at the factory and I have different factories to choose from, I can have, but then with 20 homes, four plans, maybe I can use two different manufacturers, where manufacturer A does floor plan 1 and 2, manufacturer B does floor plans 3 and 4. I can potentially be doing all of them at the same time and, have a project like that done, let's say, within 8 to 9 months. And have 50 houses without sacrificing quality, because that's another thing that a lot of these production site builders, yes, they can potentially match that time frame. The thing is, and as I've suffered it, doing some site build projects, is finding the right framing crew. Not only finding the framing crew that can provide the quality, but then for them to show up on time to the work, to do it on time, just from area under control. You add the weather into it and all the stuff that I get to a point where there's potential risk to not doing it right.
Yeah.
You also add, the weather conditions of, whether here in Charlotte, working in July at 100 plus degree weather at PM, the workers have been for 6 hours and they're sweating, and what are the chances that they're hitting every single nail right in the middle of the stud, or in the other side, in the winter when it's 35 degrees, same thing. I guess where I'm going to is, most people associate modular potentially with kind of like a cheaper method of construction or less expensive. And as I've been telling clients, is I don't really advertise saying I'm going to make it less expensive. Let's say I'm going to be roughly the same as your average site builder. The main difference is that I can guarantee that the quality and the time to do it is going to stay constant without sacrificing the quality. Whereas, again, on site, it's a lot harder. So going back to, now that, to answer your question in a long way,
of course,
in the next 6 to 8 months or 6 to 12 months, our idea is to start developing into more larger scale projects where I can provide multiple homes at once without sacrificing quality or time.
That's great. I always this is the story that I just read recently. You mentioned about schedule. What happened here is the Empire State Building. I read this in a book. It became world famous because at that time, everyone assumed a certain rate of production. You do a floor, and let's say a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. The Empire State Building, compared to the other buildings in around it, was world famous because it was built on time. The reason why it was built on time is because the engineers who designed and were building building the Empire State Building, they didn't see that I'm gonna build this building, 102 floors all at once, like 102 floors high. They built the same floor 102 times. So when they came up, it's like a modular system. They just built the same floor again and again and again. Where contracts were notoriously going over budget, over schedule. Here was a monument to the test to the whole world that you could build something, a huge skyscraper, because it was one of the biggest at the time, on schedule. And it put the Empire State Building on the map because, like you said, you can guarantee that it was built on schedule. At the time, everyone kind of guarantees we can build on schedule. There's actually proof that when you do things consistent and repeatable, it comes on schedule, you know? So it's what you're saying is it's phenomenal when you look at history and you're looking at now and you're seeing the transition. There's a lot of similarities. I have one last question. I call it the magic wand question. I found a lot of good responses on my podcast. Magic wand. If you had a magic wand in how businesses like adapt to something being consistent, being repeatable, or a magic wand on how to scale your business, what is something ideal that you want for yourself and for the construction industry when it comes to technology and adapting to where the world is going to see?
Similar to what you said, just reliability in the processes, the logistics for materials and deliveries and stuff, so that we can stay on budget and everything.
If you do have a drawback in the materials that you get to make the modular homes, like, is there a process that's automated for that? Do you have, let's say, a system that tells you you're low on materials and so forth? If you could solve anything, I know as you are talking about scalability and so forth, and automation, there's still other problems that are coming. The reason why I asked that magic wand question is, as people are uncovering the wave of the new future, they're discovering something new. And these are the new, like, you're a pioneer. Like, whether you want to believe it or not, this is how it's going to happen. People are going to need homes. They're going to need something consistent because the times, the longs are not, they're not the right way, and the old way of construction is changing. So what is something that you see? That's why it's a great question that I've got a lot of good,
Yeah, and again, and not to kind of pat myself in the back too much, but I mean, I think kind of, again, for everything that I mentioned, that the modular process, I believe that is kind of what a traditional site builder would think of. That's the magic wand solution.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like the obstacles that we still have is more human related, so as far as the design process with the clients. And then I have a lot of clients that are basically telling me, take my money, build me my house, just help me find the lot, so just kind of merging all those resources, which you mentioned AI, and that's definitely going to be a solution to, eventually, where I can say, I got client A that wants a lot with these conditions and a house with these characteristics, and put it in the system, and it pops out and saying like, oh, there's this lot that fits the requirements, and we already got this lender that's approved and everything, and that takes care of it. Because, again, right now, the main issues that are delaying us from building, basically, is, first of all, finding the right land for the clients, followed by just, the design process of getting them figured out, what they want and how they want it, and the financing option of just getting them qualified and approved and get the loan done.
The loan process.
Once we come in, again, I feel like I'm already in that wave. I've already been waving my wand around. Without, I know that sounds weird.
No,
Answers
that's
questions.
perfect. That's absolutely perfect because that's exactly it. You're now creating one solution, and now there's a thing that I like to say just before because I want to have the last little bit for yourself here. There's AI, artificial, and there's HI, human intelligence. We can't forget the
Yep.
HI. You know, there is still
Of course.
that HI part. And that is something that we always need to keep in mind. Fernando, please, your business, your any kind of a way to contact you, people can look on your website or anything along those lines because you know what, my hope is that I'm connecting people as well. That is what my hope is. I was fortunate enough to get into your contact. I appreciate this experience. And if someone comes along and says, hey, listen, I'm looking for something modular, I've got a project here, and they reach out to you, I'm not even need to be involved. It would make me more than happy to connect to people. So just please, for the audience, your business name, a way to contact you, website, phone number, whatever it is.
Yep. So the website, we got a incredible website that's almost like a learning center, so that whether you actually want to build a house or just want to be more educated on the whole modular revolution, it's called impresamodular.com. That's IMPRESA modular MODULAR.com. My the office number for us is 980-215-8673. And on that, like I said, the website is a great resource to either we have over 3,000 floor plans to choose from, and really the knowledge in that website as far as everything you can think of as it relates to this modular revolution is on there.
Amazing. Any last remarks? I appreciate you so much for coming along. I hope you had a fun experience. Just talking about what you do. I enjoyed it very much and I loved it.